Yule log.
Merry Christmas, horror fans. It's Danny and Pete from the Lassercast, and we are getting together on a Christmas Eve morning to talk about the thing that we love the most this holiday season, horror movies. What's going on, Pete?
I'm sitting in my garage freezing my ass off, but I'm excited to talk about Yule log with you.
Yes, we're going to be we're doing a couple reviews back to back. Our first one is the wild insanity of the Adult Swim Yule log,
Yes.
which you can find on HBO Max.
Mm-hmm.
And I just finished watching this, and I had been texted. Athena had sent me a link that was like, I don't know what this is, but everybody's talking about it. I think you need to watch it. And I had a few
Right.
friends who were like, well, that was the craziest thing I've seen in a long time. So we just spoke about this before we started recording. You have not seen Too Many Cooks.
I've not, no.
Okay, so years ago, one of my best friends, Josh, I'll give him a shout out, even though he doesn't even have social media, so he'll probably never see this. But his wife does, so maybe. Hi, Rachel.
All right.
He introduced this to me and Athena, and Too Many Cooks is just, it's indescribable. It starts off as something, and then it just keeps going, and it just keeps changing, and you're not sure if you want it to end or if you just want to keep seeing how crazy it's going to get. And if you haven't seen it, so I don't want to spoil that for you. And I really don't want to talk too much about this movie because I don't want to spoil the fun, the lunacy, the insane plot twists and turns that come. But if I think I can comfortably say, if you're out there and you liked Too Many Cooks, which you can find on YouTube, you are probably going to really enjoy the Adult Swim Yule log. Yes. Who's the guy who wrote and directed this? Casper
Kelly.
Casper Kelly. Yeah, he is. I mean, there is a lot going on in that man's brain, and I think I really enjoy. I just loved how different this was to almost everything I've seen ever.
Exactly. I'm down for doing like a spoiler discussion of it at like later down if we give like a little spoiler warning. But
yeah. Okay, that's a great idea.
Yeah. But right off the bat, like Casper Kelly, he's the guy that wrote and directed it. For people that don't know who he is, he wrote he co-created a Adult Swim show called Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell. Have you seen that?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really watch Adult Swim these days. I used to, like when I was in my early 20s. Had a lot of anime at first, then started to get all these weird shows. And he has written for quite a few of them, including Squidbillies, Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, and Aqua Teen Hunger Force, which is probably like the most famous Adult Swim.
I'm not gonna lie and say I'm a huge fan of Aqua Teen, but I think I got into it kind of by osmosis because it like a lot of my friends were huge Adult Swim fans, and like you couldn't escape the gravitational pull of Aqua Teen Hunger Force to the point where I saw the movie in the theater, and it was awful. That first Aqua Teen movie, and like I remember looking at my friends and going, "This is why these episodes are 15 minutes long, because anything more than 15 minutes, and you kind of want to kill yourself."
Yes, too much.
That being said, I do like Aqua Teen as a like short little 15-minute thing. I have friends that like swear by a lot of these Adult Swim shows. Like you mentioned Harvey Birdman. Was there a show called like something videos or on Adult Swim home movies maybe?
Okay, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I had friends that like swore by that and said it was amazing. Like when it comes to animation, I love Futurama. It's one of my favorite things ever created. And after that, I kind of just it has to be in my wheelhouse, or else I'm not really Yeah, like I have to be with a group that wants to watch that type of animation.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad that you put this on my radar too, because I didn't even know about it at all. And it does kind of spiral out of, control. I think that we should do a little spoiler discussion of it and keep it kind of brief. Um, and the reason why is because there's a lot of cool things that they do in this that I think are worth talking about, right?
So let's give the spoiler-free, super quick synopsis. So spoiler-free, you basically have a couple Zoe and Alex, who show up at this cabin to celebrate their I guess it's just kind of like a winter away. He's going to propose. That's not a spoiler. And it opens with the Yule log. So there's like 3 minutes where if you just put it on HBO Max, you might think, oh, I don't know what Adult Swim means. I'm just going to put on the Yule log for my family. It very quickly becomes something much more, and you find out that the camera that is filming, and I thought this was a really clever thing that they weaved into it.
Absolutely.
Alex, the character, creates the Yule log videos. Like that's like one of his, they call it a side hustle, but he kind of makes it seem like it's his real job. And how like they travel the world, and he takes pictures, he takes videos of campfires and fires in the fireplace, and he streams them, and that's like the money that they make. And it's this, so there is a reason why the camera is there, and much of the first 40 minutes of the movie is basically just filmed from the camera that is sitting in the living room of this cabin, which is great.
Absolutely.
And so there's this couple, they show up. We know from the very opening scene that there are other people in the house in hiding. We also know that another group of people show up, and there's a double booking situation, which instantly made me think of Barbarian.
Yep.
There's a lot of movies this year where I feel like they kind of, like Barbarian reminded me of Fresh. This movie reminded me of Barbarian.
Right.
And craziness ensues, and that's really all we can say. There's a bunch of characters in a cabin in the snow, and craziness ensues to the point where you're going to question things that you're watching. You're not going to believe some of the things that you're seeing. You're going to forget that certain characters were there and until they show up much later, and I genuinely was just impressed with how crazy this movie got as it went on. So with that synopsis out of the way, I think at this point we can put a spoiler warning and we could just start talking about said craziness. So at this point, go on HBO Max, watch the Adult Swim Yule log, come back and, enjoy this part of the video.
Yeah. So I think you said that Fresh reminded you of Barbarian or vice versa, but isn't it also that movie A Wounded Fawn? It's kind of like Fresh too, right?
The idea of like a couple who's going away, and it turns out that one of the members of the couple is a crazy psychopath. And
I wonder how many of these, like, because this might have been influenced by one of those two, and then or by Barbarian, because I mean, even though there's crazy production value in this, it does also kind of seem very intimate and small scale, because so much of it is just with that one camera at first, and I mean, it might also just be that we're starting to like have this osmosis, like you mentioned before, but the osmosis is that we're used to being on a screen communicating with people and having this fixed screen, just like you and I are doing right now because of COVID. Because it definitely gave you that feeling for the first, like you said, 40 minutes. What I loved about this so much is that they were able to be so creative with like world building and just weird shit, even though they had a fixed frame for like almost half of the movie. And then they had like creative ways to essentially break free of the frame and start to do creative things.
So one of the things they do, to your point, is they have like the camera like is stationary, but almost like things move in, like, and it's like flashbacks move in from the side. And so it's like you're seeing what was going on in this cabin in the 1850s where like a guy is sitting there with his slave.
Right.
And there's a conversation about that. We learned from this sheriff early on that the wood that they're using for the fire was taken from almost like an altar around a hanging tree that was used to like hang slaves back in the day. So there's within the craziness, there's almost this like political message in this movie about like respecting native traditions, you know, not to you know, paying homage to like the hanging tree and the slaves who died 150 years ago.
Right.
And these flashbacks are like moving in, and then they just move out. And you're like, oh, okay, that was interesting. But yeah, so I guess we start right at the beginning where the thing that breaks up the Yule log is the woman who apparently owns the cabin comes in to clean it, and she's immediately attacked and killed by this old woman and her son, who is basically a Leatherface clone.
Right. Pleatherface.
Like Pleatherface, this giant monster of a man who's looking to he keeps trying to find a girlfriend, but ends up killing all the girls that he tries to attack.
Right.
And they go and hide, and there's this really clever thing that Casper Kelly does, where in the camera that we're staring at, there's the camera keeps the focus keeps shifting, and you keep seeing a reflection in a cup, so you know Pleatherface is still there, and so like for the first 20 minutes of this movie, you're expecting the movie to be about these two people that show up at the cabin who fight an axe-wielding Leatherface clone and his deranged mother.
Right.
And then so many things happen that you forget that those two characters are in the house until much later in the movie.
Right.
Like to the point where when with like 30 minutes left in the movie, those characters show back up, and I was like, oh yeah. Like there's a giant madman in the house. I forgot about that.
Right. Yeah, you know, it is insane, man. Like, with this movie, like, okay, so here's the thing. I watched it on the Adult Swim website, right? So I didn't see it on like HBO Max or on demand. So I didn't know how long it was going to be. And so I was like, oh, maybe this is like 15 minutes. Maybe this is a half hour. And then as it keeps going on, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This is an hour and a half. And I was like, all right, where the hell is this going? And it just keeps evolving over and over again. So yes,
that's the best word. I think you hit it right there on the head. The movie evolves.
Yes.
It's like 15 minutes into the movie, if I would have told you, like, Pete, where are you? Did you get up to the aliens yet? You would have been like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yes, exactly.
But then when the aliens show up, and yes, we're in the spoiler section now. When the aliens show up, you're kind of like, yeah, okay, this makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, the aliens are here to replace the sentient flaming log that has become the new villain of the movie.
Right.
So in the span of like an hour, you go from this is a movie about a psycho killer Leatherface clone to this is a stoner comedy where characters are crawling into the fireplace, which is like a hellscape to deal with this like hellish elf of sorts who's like erasing people from existence.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden the movie becomes about the sentient log that is chasing everybody around the house, killing them, smashing their heads in graphic and gory fashion.
Yes.
And then there's aliens, as there tends to be in these movies.
Right.
And then it goes back to being the axe-wielding maniac and his mother. And then it goes back to being the sentient log. So you're like, and there are like editing choices in here. Like I brought up Barbarian earlier. There is an editing choice at the end of this movie that felt like the editing choice in Barbarian, where it snaps from like what's going on in the basement of the house to Justin Long on his cell phone in a car.
Right.
And
spoilers for Barbarian.
Oh, Well, yeah, I mean, at this point, come on.
Come on.
But yeah, I loved the editing. You're never sure what the hell is really going on. You're never. It's just.
Yeah. When my wife sees certain kind of sketches on SNL, she's like, "Oh, that's like for stoners." She's like, "That skit was for stoners," and that's kind of the way I've always felt about Adult Swim. It's like, oh, Adult Swim's kind of made for stoners to watch this shit late at night and just get high and just eat snacks, right? And so I pictured people making this movie, Casper Kelly and whoever else like helped him out, just sitting in a room, without windows, just doing bong hits or rips or whatever the fuck. I mean, I'm not much of a stoner guy myself, and just kind of being like, okay, well, what if the log comes to life and just starts smashing people's faces in, or like, what if it's a Yule log, but like, you pull back and there's a killer in the house. Like, I think that good.
It really does feel like he was sitting with friends and they were like, exactly, what if this happens? And like, where normally a writer director will be like, all right, well, that doesn't fit in this movie. He was like, oh yeah, that would be great.
Yeah,
let me write in the aliens.
Right.
And they suck the grandmother figure like, so she's just like skin.
Yeah, on the floor.
Just like, yeah.
No, but what do you call it? I guess like sometimes I think that like we maybe read into things that we want to read into things, but to me, I got a very Twin Peaks kind of vibe from this, because like all the sort of supernatural stuff that's in Twin Peaks that people kind of speculate about, that's never like fully said, like, oh, this is in Twin Peaks. Like, people speculate that there's aliens in Twin Peaks. People speculate that there is like this kind of hell dimension, and you see stuff that makes you think that this exists in the show, but the stuff that they have in this movie kind of syncs up with Twin Peaks. Like, there's alien stuff in Twin Peaks. There's this weird kind of pocket dimension with a guy in a suit. The guy in a suit is like a little person in Twin Peaks.
Oh, I've seen that before. Yeah, is that like, doesn't he talk backwards or something?
Exactly. So there's that angle. There's a woman that carries around a log, and she's called the Log Lady. And I mean, the log is a big part of this movie.
As there's prone to be,
Yeah. But I really, really wanted to talk about that fireplace segment with, the little pocket dimension, because that was my favorite part of this whole thing. You have these other people that were double booked, like you said, and they do like edibles, right? And they start tripping. Yeah. And so this one guy's tripping, and he looks over at the fireplace, and there's this little man on the log, and he's like, "Hey, come here!" And you're like, "What the fuck am I looking at now?" And then he like crawls into the fireplace, and he's in this pocket dimension, and the pocket dimension like shifts so that you can like see through other people's fireplaces. I thought that was a great touch. Then this guy gives this speech about how the man who crawled through the fireplace is a fuck up, and he's like, well, you can change your life. Just go write A++ on your mom's refrigerator on this piece of paper, right? And it's this fucking bizarre thing, because he crawls through, you think he's writing it on his mom's refrigerator, but then apparently he wrote it on his mom's stomach, and that caused him to be erased from existence.
Well, no, he actually stabbed his mother in the stomach while she was pregnant, I think, or something to that effect.
Okay.
So then the guy just goes, I don't talk to people who don't exist. And the guy fades away. And when you come back to the scene in the living room in front of the fire, the girl who was this guy's girlfriend is sitting next to, and they set this up with a joke earlier about how she has a thing for Asian guys.
Right.
And so the guy who we just saw in the pocket dimension, he's gone now. He's out of the movie. And there's just a new Asian guy on next to her.
Yeah.
And the movie just picks up as if none of the characters notice. And if you notice, the guy's like much smarter and obviously much more successful.
Yeah. So good, man. There was something about that pocket dimension that really appealed to me. It was so interesting. And I was so happy that they went back to it again at the end. Because the woman says, the main woman, her name is Zoe, right? Andrea Lang. And so she's with this demon guy in the fireplace. And she says, oh, this is hell, or you're in hell. And then he says, no, I'm actually from the future. And he does this whole speech about what's it like when you privilege? He's like privileged, but with time. Like you were born in this time period, and it's like real deep stuff, which is kind of like stoner stuff of like, hey, we're privileged by the time that we live in, man. You know, and like I just love that it wasn't even like a fucking demon. It was some kind of weird form of time travel, which is another Twin Peaks thing too. So I think there definitely was this like Twin Peaks stoner session that created this movie.
We have established on this channel in the years now that we've been doing it that you have some big blind spots for certain horror movies, and we've been correcting those blind spots with like Black Christmas and movies like that. And you can check out our Black Christmas review up on the channel now. But I have made it known through our 2 years together that I have a huge blind spot for a lot of David Lynch stuff, including everything Twin Peaks. I've never watched a single episode. I've never seen any of the films. I think my David Lynch knowledge is basically Eraserhead and Blue Velvet.
Did you watch Dune?
I never saw the original Dune.
Okay.
Yeah. I know that David Lynch calls it his worst movie. I know that most Dune fans like yourself seem to not like it. Then again, I didn't love the new Dune, so maybe I'll give that one a try and love it. So who knows? It has Sting in it. It can't be that bad.
Yeah, and like a leather diaper. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So, but like I loved Blue Velvet, and that is an insane movie.
Yeah.
And I do, and my brother-in-law and sister-in-law are massive Twin Peaks fans, and like Twin Peaks and Breaking Bad are like the two shows that I'm like confident that I will eventually see.
Well, you didn't see Breaking Bad?
No, I heard it's good though. I'm kidding. That's a joke. Yeah. He's gone. Yeah, it's been like a running joke where every time we get like a break from work, I'm like, okay, this is going to be the break where I just power through Breaking Bad.
Fuck yeah.
And I never do. And I've never watched a single episode.
I'm rewatching
listen, to
it
me,
right
Bryan
now.
Cranston will always be the dad from Malcolm in the Middle.
Until you watch Breaking Bad.
And Tim Watley.
That's right. I just saw him on Seinfeld, the other night.
I actually just rewatched, because, in my house, we celebrate Festivus. So we had to celebrate yesterday. I had a lot of problems with you people.
I just watched that episode with Pepper like 2 days ago. Yeah.
It's so good.
we're fucking spiraling out of control. Like
you know what? This video has become like the Adult Swim Yule Log movie. We just keep changing topics and going off on weird tangents, and now there's new shit in here. Now we're talking about Seinfeld and David Lynch and
but not bad stuff to talk about. And as a matter of fact, if you do end up watching Breaking Bad, I'm rewatching it. I'm up to season 3 again, so I will gladly watch it with you and that cat. And we can even talk about it
mean cat
on Anchor Pete or something if you wanted to too. But anyway, what I was gonna say was bringing it back to this fucking crazy ass movie. It's because we're also going to record and talk about Scare Package 2 right after this. Is that so check out that video when it comes out on Monday. It's the kind of thing where it's like kind of ridiculous and stupid at many points. A Scare Package is more stupid and ridiculous. But
that's not a criticism. It's meant to be more stupid. This is shockingly taken seriously. Every part of this movie is wild, ridiculous. You're not going to believe what you're watching, but the characters in the movie are all taking it 100% seriously. Like there's no shred of like, I would call this kind of like a horror comedy just because of what it is.
Right.
But the characters in it don't think it's a horror comedy.
No.
The characters in Scare Package 2 know they're in a horror comedy.
Right. Every segment or every kind of weird twist in this movie is a serious thing, and if you had it by itself, it would be a horror movie that was scary.
Mm-hmm.
The humor is that it's just all of it packed on top of one another. That's it.
Yes.
There isn't really like jokes. I mean, maybe there's a couple, but for the most part, it's just like it could be a horror movie, each one by itself. An alien horror movie, a weird demon dimension horror movie.
It could be a movie about Zoe, because apparently, like, we only learn a little bit of her backstory, but apparently she's like she's got this like super dark backstory, and you know, we only learned one part of it, but I kind of felt like there was a lot more there with her backstory that I thought, oh, maybe this movie, at the beginning at least, I thought, oh, maybe this movie is going to be like where she is going to be like the final girl who kills these killers, and we end up learning that she's crazy and she's going to kill her boyfriend. But okay, no, this is going to be a movie. I feel like this might become like an annual tradition movie for me, because I totally feel like this is a movie where next year, now that I know what's in it, I might partake in some enjoyment of some substances, which are mostly legal throughout the United States now, and watch this and enjoy it on a different level. And like, this is the type of thing where like my friend and his wife, who introduced me to Too Many Cooks, I feel like this is a perfect movie for them to watch, and I'd love to watch it with them, because if they like Too Many Cooks, they're gonna fucking love this.
Yes. Yeah. I think it'd also be kind of fun to just play it for someone else who's never seen it, and just sit with them and just like tell them, oh, here's a Yule log. Even like present it like the regular fucking Netflix Yule log.
Yeah, or like if you're having family over, like as soon as your family walks in, like press play, and for like 3.5 minutes, they'll be like, oh, that's nice. They have a nice little Yule log on TV. And then when they start asking questions, just act like it's totally normal. Like, what? This is the Yule log we put on every year. What are you talking about?
Right. Exactly.
All right, Grandma.
Yeah. So, hopefully you guys have already seen it, and we haven't spoiled anything for you, because it is an experience. I'm really glad that you showed me this, Danny, too. And like I said, the thing is, now we're going to move on to Scare Package 2. So you guys are watching this on Christmas Day, because you guys are such big Lastercast fans. You watched it. You took the time away from your family to watch this. So Merry Christmas from Danny and I. If you are new to the channel, please make sure that you like and subscribe. We review content all the time. I also interview horror writers. Got like at least 3 more horror writer videos coming out soon, within the next week or 2.
And you released 2 or 3 this week already.
Exactly, yeah. So
and we have our deep dive review of Black Christmas, and any horror TV that comes on, whether it's streaming or not. We reviewed Interview with a Vampire. We reviewed Charlotte and I reviewed Wednesday, the Netflix smash hit. And very soon into the new year, AMC is starting the Mayfair Witches, which we're going to watch, because that's part of the Anne Rice television universe that AMC is building.
Yeah. I think it's called the Immortal
Universe. Right?
Yeah,
Immortal Universe.
Yeah, that reminds me. I got to start listening to the first book of the Mayfair Witches. So yeah, cool, man. Well, all we want for Christmas is some more subscribers and more views. So bring them on, guys. So you guys have a good time. Throw a little log on the fire, and we will see you guys next week.